All right, welcome back to the New Equity Network Show. I'm Michael Yorba, your host, and co-host Jared Fabriello. Our guest today is David Duggan, CEO, Viral Networks, Inc. I am exceptionally enthused with what you do, David, and I wanted to get into that. For the new listeners that haven't heard you on the show before, give us just a little bit of background on you, what Viral Networks does for the for the world out there, and then we'll get into some of the other questions I have for you. Okay, David?
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just a quick overview. I come directly out of school into the financial and investing worlds. You know, as a managing director of a direct marketing firm by the age of 19. So I got to know the marketing world pretty well inside and out. And then I made some money while doing that, so I got to know the investing world pretty well inside and out, specifically because I would lose a lot of money, get taken advantage of right out of the gates. But it caused me to learn a lot and make more intelligent decisions. And the combination of investing mixed with my marketing background is what, over the last sort of 8 to 10 years, has combined to create what Viral Network Inc. now does for public companies. And it's been a very interesting ride, and all the ups and downs has led us to a new system that we've introduced over the last year that we're calling a performance-based online IR strategy, where for the first time public companies are able to pay for the results. You know, only when an investor actually wants to find out more about their story, rather than the effort and all the build-up and lead up to that question.
All right, let's get an overview of how this works.
Sure. To put it into layman's terms, I'll give you an analogy. And let's say all of us, when we're traveling into the downtown core on our daily commute, we take a variety of different ways that we get there. You know, some people drive in, some people take transit, and people do different things when they're commuting. Some people will listen to radio, others, they won't. Others will have their own phones going. But there's a lot of different ways you can advertise to people in the traditional normal world. We're all familiar. We've seen billboards on the side of the road. We've even seen planes flying over the sky with a sign behind it. There's posters. There's radio ads. Any form of getting a message out to the entire city. We're all familiar with those methods. But if you really wanted to have every single form of marketing covered in a whole city for a whole day, we all know that would be very expensive. And part of the reason is because you'd be reaching everyone for an entire day, and a lot of those people would be irrelevant. But that's just the way traditional marketing works. You have to pay for the effort. You pay for the deployment of the advertisements, and you hope that a certain amount of people actually care. So in the digital advertising world, to give that exact same analogy, the way it works for us online is if you let's say the total amount of people traveling in to the city is a million people, but maybe only 100,000 of those people are relevant to your story. In traditional marketing, you have to advertise to all of them. In digital advertising, you could literally just click a button and remove all of the people from the roads that are irrelevant to you. So if you're only reaching potential investors, check a few boxes, put in some specifics, and then the only people left traveling into the middle of the city that day are potential investors. So you can continue to do the exact same marketing tactics, have billboards, posted ads, radio ads, all that sort of stuff, but you're only reaching the most specific audience. But the biggest switch in the digital advertising world and the holy grail for companies looking to tell their story is that instead of paying for the deployment of all those advertisements, billboards, etc., you only pay when any of those investors actually want to find out more. So you can have your ads running all across the city, even the planes flying overhead with the banner behind it, and you continue to show all those advertisements until the minimum amount of people have clicked or requested to find out more information. So you're paying for the result, the interested person who's making an inquiry, as opposed to the delivery and the effort. So it's a humongous flip on its head. So we, the marketing firm, in this case Viral Network, take the risk to deploy the advertisements online, and then only when someone actually decides they want to find out more does the public company pay. And so that's what makes it a performance-based campaign. And it's truly revolutionizing the entire marketing world.
It is. Jared looks like he's got a question for you.
Yeah, what is
Oh, yeah?
the process for narrowing down, getting to the people that you want? I mean, how do you do that?
Great question. And that's actually where we have a couple proprietary softwares in-house, things that we've developed over the last 4 years. And they go after two different types of people. And if we simplify what you and I can do online on a day-to-day basis, there's really only two things we can do. One is that we can consume information. So if we click on an article and we read about it, or social media, we're looking up information, and you're basically just clicking from one website to another, consuming information. So that is roughly represents about 80% of online activity, is where people are just consuming content. They're not necessarily leaving a mark, but they're defined by the content that they're consuming. So if after this show you guys go and you do some research and you're looking up information about the markets and you just happen to be interested in the gold sector for this time, then you're going to be reading articles about the gold industry, maybe gold companies, but you're defined by the content that you're consuming. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
And the other form of online activity is the 20% of activity is represented by people who do leave a mark, who have conversations online, who socialize, who use blogs, chat rooms, social media, and they literally have conversations, so they're putting down their thoughts or what they're interested in. So there's two very different ways to approach and define the audiences in both of those tactics. So in the 80% of people, you have to find out what content that they're consuming. So people are reading articles that are relevant to a specific public company. Then we want to advertise on all those websites that people are visiting. If people are having conversations about the gold industry as a whole or other gold companies, then we want to reach out to those people and advertise to them. So now that you understand the basics of it, when we actually go to do the targeting, we use our two different softwares that go after the two different groups of people, and we plug in all the descriptive type words that define who the company is looking for. So if it is a resource company, then we would look for anyone who consumes content online that's about resource investing or the gold markets or the inflation projections, whatever it is. And the software will tell us that there's roughly, let's say, 650 websites that put up content that's relevant to the resource space. And on average, those websites get, let's say, 5.6 million unique viewers on a monthly basis. So it's a very powerful targeting tool that we know that those 650 specific websites have the most relevant content to the gold public company. So we know that the majority of the people who visit those sites are potential investors, and we can put up ads consistently on those websites. And the same goes for the social monitoring tool that we have. We type in all the relevant keywords. So even the names of the comparable companies. A lot of times we'll ask our clients to say, okay, in 3 years, how large do you want to be or do you expect to be? And then give us a list of the, maybe 30 or 40 companies that are already that size. And then anytime an investor searches online, through Google, Bing, on social media, anything like that, for those other companies, we'll get those people, we'll be able to advertise directly to them. So it's extremely micro-targeted, and we can get a very specific group of people by doing this.
It seems to me that it's just a natural connect the dots, that you would start with the biggest influencers first and be able to narrow it down. Is that part of the process?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just as an example, when we look for anyone who's mentioning something to do with gold investing, the gold space, or even the top 40 gold stocks in North America, there's roughly 2,500 to 4,500 mentions or people talking about the gold industry every single week, every 7 days. So in our software, when we're tracking these conversations, it would be a daunting task, to say the least, to try and reach out to all 4,000 of those people every single week,
right,
who are talking about that space. So one of the very powerful filtering mechanisms we have built into the software is we can see how many people on average see the posts from those people online. So out of the 4,000 mentions, only about 300, maybe 400 of those people will be what we classify as influential within the space. which means they have at least 5 to 10,000 people who see every single one of their posts. So if we know that there's 300 to 400 people that consistently talk about the gold mining and investing space, and every single time they post something, it goes out to 10+ thousand people, that's a humongously relevant person, and we want to reach out and advertise to them.
David,
So,
I need to interrupt you for just a second. We got a hard break coming up, but I want to get into finish that conversation and get into a real life example on the next segment. All right?
sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back with David Duggan, CEO, Viral Networks Inc., viralnetworksinc.com. You've been listening to Jared Fabriello, Michael Yorba on the New Equity Network Show. We'll be right back.